Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Out of the Habit Show. I am That's the Way It Goes, and I am better known as Dave, and this is my Seneca Falls co-host.
Monk of Magnesia, better known as Jimmy.
And you can find him on his channel, which is King on YouTube. But for now, we're on this channel. Don't forget, if you enjoy this and love any of this, then do yourself a favour. Get out of bad habits and get yourself into a good habit. And subscribe to us. Like and share on that big interweb full of spiders. So anyway, today's show is going to be a difference. And it's still about all wonderful things geekhood, but not Doctor Who. Maybe Doctor Who knows. But first, let's discuss something which came out of the blue. Patrick Stewart, better known as Professor X, Shakespearean actor extraordinaire, and of course Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek The Next Generation, announced in Las Vegas only a few days ago that he was discussing scripts, but he actually will be returning as Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise D&E in as of yet not titled TV series. So basically, what do you think about that, Jimmy?
It's very exciting, exciting prospects. I just hope that when they do come up with the scripts, that it's very, very good scripts. He said that it's going to be 20 years after Nemesis. So what is he doing now? And what has happened in the past 20 years that has shaped his life?
So the first thing that many Star Trek fans will hope is that there'll be appearances from Next Generation stars and presumably appearances from other Star Trek series like Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, because by this point in time, the Voyager crew would have returned back to Earth. The last time we saw Picard and the Next Generation crew was essentially the Next Generation version of the Wrath of Khan, in the sense that they killed off Data.
Mm-hmm.
And he had Data's replacement droid, Beef or something.
P4, I think.
Yeah. He's essentially a childlike version of Data.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is, in that film, it was a young Tom Hardy, and look where he's gone to in the years since, playing a cloned version of Picard. So what could Picard have been doing? Because in all good things, there's a future version of Picard who's suffering from Alzheimer's or something, who's tending to the vineyards because he's French. That's what we saw him do. He returned to his family. His nephew was killed in a fire in Star Trek Generations, which upset a lot of fans. So is it possible, do you think, that you could crunch even more, Jimmy? Is it possible that he will be in some sort of similar timeline?
In the video, Patrick Stewart hinted that this Picard may be a darker Picard. Maybe the events of his life has shaped him into a dark figure, a brooding figure. Maybe he's very, very depressed. Maybe he turns evil. He said it's not going to be what you expect it to be. So he's not going to be like an admiral.
So he's basically taking a sort of leaf out of Logan's book, or more to the point, The Last Jedi, with a very upsetting, uncharacteristic version of Luke Skywalker. I don't think that's wise. If he does a character that is totally unlike Picard, that would do as much damage to Star Trek as it has done to Star Wars. Because the absolute bullshit they did to that film, I mean, even Mark Hamill was seriously pissed off enough to basically wreck every interview he was in. He wasn't sticking to the script.
Yep.
Picard is a enlightened character. He's an explorer, just like his ancestors were, according to, information from previous Next Generation episodes.
It comes down to the scripts. Are they going to be great scripts, or are they going to be crap? We won't know until we actually see it. And in order to see it, we're going to have to pay for it, because it's on one of those CBS stations that you have to pay to watch.
Ah, crap. Well, the thing about Next Generation, though, it was politically correct. And some episodes have aged better than others. But the irony is, it was never as politically correct or moronic as social justice wild crap. So hopefully it will be an antidote to all this bullshit. I love Patrick Stewart. I believe his character in Logan was killed off. I honestly haven't watched a lot of science fiction and geek films. I haven't seen Infinity War, but the irony is I don't need to, because there's so much information about these particular films and TV shows. You can save yourself a lot of effort and just not even watch them.
That's true. You can just read what's being released to the internet, and you end up with the plot and what happens. You don't actually have to see it.
So surely they're not going to drop that plot line that the younger version of Data. Surely that would have been the Picard we know would take it upon himself to do what he did with Data originally. Show that Data his humanity, and because they were like Kirk and Spock, really. I mean, Data was the opposite to Spock. Spock was trying to get away from humanity, whereas Data was trying to become more human. He wouldn't. Picard wouldn't just drop that. He'd make it a life mission.
So you think he was working with B4 to get B4 to become Data? Well, right now, all we know is it's Captain Picard. We don't know anything else. They didn't mention any other character. They didn't mention Data. They didn't mention B4.
Doesn't mean they won't feature them. I've read that it has actually been described as a sequel to The Next Generation. And it would be, potential-wise, it would be silly not to use it as an opportunity to finally explain what has happened to the other members of the Starship Enterprise.
Well, Patrick Stewart said they don't have any scripts yet. They're all just talking, but he likes what they're talking about. He's very eager for it. He's looking forward to it. He thinks it's going to be great.
So basically, anything's possible. Nothing is set in stone. No contracts are really set in stone, apart from Patrick Stewart, obviously.
Patrick Stewart, yeah. We don't know who's writing for it. We don't know who's directing it. All we know is, I don't even know if we know what year it'll be. If it'll be 2020, 2021, I don't know.
There is so much potential with all these new shows, and to have a reunion of Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and actually explain, exactly what happened to all these characters and universes since we last saw them, because none of them have been mind. And I guarantee you, there's so much potential in them, especially if they want to get this new service from CBS really off the ground. The potential is so. I mean, you've seen these characters featured more in fan films than actually through mainstream channels, which is a bit bizarre.
You're right. The potential is there, and it's not being taken advantage of.
It's basically parallel to the BBC's lack of Eighth Doctor TV shows, which has actually been taken to full advantage by Big Finish with all the Eighth Doctor, Time War series and Dark Eyes, which has been, award-winning, basically. Is this just a cynical ploy to get sort of subscribers to these new CBS servers and get around the fact that a lot of people are going to be sort of put off, I'd imagine, by having to pay for it? Especially, just like the BBC TV license, when you don't probably give a flying fuck about the rest of the programmes.
That's true. Why pay for it just to see this one program? It's going to be leaked out, and you could probably get it through other sources.
Pirate Bay!
Yep.
Not that I've ever used that service, obviously. I don't break the law.
Or you could just wait, and eventually it'll be out on DVD.
The only is, I'd rather watch Picard and Co. than some bullshit like Discovery, which... And this is based purely on reviews from virtually everybody. Discovery hasn't been panned. It's not as bad as Last Jedi, but it does seem as though it's been a missed opportunity and it's got a lot of flaws to it. And the people behind it, 2 people, script editors or producers, have been fired or whatever.
Discovery, I couldn't get past the first episode. I watched it and hated it so much I never watched it again.
But what was your reason for hating it? Was it the script? Was it the characterization?
It was the script. The first 15 minutes was like a bunch of techno dialogue, and I'm thinking, people do not speak this way.
Techno babble, just like Voyager.
Then later on...
Yeah. In the first 2 seasons of Voyager, there was a lot of techno-babble, which, really sort of ruined even really good episodes because it sort of it either had bored people or just turned scenes into incomprehensible junk. Sorry, go on, Jimmy.
Then later on, they had Ambassador Sarek.
Yeah.
And she's talking to this woman, and he says... It's karma because the Klingons killed your parents. And I go, a pure Vulcan wouldn't say anything like that.
Vulcans are supposed to be pure logic.
Right.
They're supposed to be above personal grudges and emotion. That's the whole point. Grudges,
emotion, revenge.
Yeah.
So after that, I didn't watch any other episode of Discover. And the reviews I keep seeing a lot of them are negative.
So had you been a Trek fan big time or hardcore before?
Yep, been a Trek fan since, it started when I was like 4.
Shit.
It wasn't. And so I have vague memories watching it as a kid, but then it went right into syndication. And so I was watching it all the time growing up as a child, and then as a teenager, and then as a young adult. Yeah, I've been a fan of... I'm not a first-generation fan because, like I said, it was only 4, but I'm a second-generation fan.
I was a Star Trek fan. I used to buy all the VHS.
Mm-hmm.
I remember buying all these videos of The Next Generation season 7. And there was this thing where you get a badge. I've still got them now. Star Trek badges with each video you get. And I was a fan, basically, of The Next Generation. I loved it. I watched it every chance I had. Oh dear, I sort of fell out of love it. In the same way that my love of Doctor Who sort of waned a little bit. So with Discovery, it wasn't really because it wasn't due to the main character being a black character or the cast per se. It was just it was the dialogue and the way they treat characters.
Yep, the way it was written, the way they wrote characters, the dialogue that they had, and it seemed like a bunch of fans just wrote. It seemed like fanfic. That's what it's a very bad fanfic. I mean, there's a lot of fanfics on YouTube that are very, very, very good.
Oh, yeah. There are some fan-made movies which, as Jimmy said, are really good. And I'm talking on every level. Special effects, computer graphics are so good. You could put these things on CBS or something, and they would actually be as better than any of the special editions of, Next Generation, which have new, improved special effects. And they did the same with Star Trek, the classic series. Improved. Not replaced, but just up the special effects quality a little bit. And they've got characters and actors either playing their original characters from every single TV series or playing totally brand new characters completely. And the scripts are good, and they understand the characters inside out. And they're not prophetic, living in the past bullshit. They're actually progressing the characters, and even if they're, done, a lot of it's actually LGBT community type stuff. And their respect for the original characters is so good. It just makes your mind boggle that it makes your mind boggle that fans that literally have to go onto a GoFundMe type website and beg for money, do a better job than a big company with millions of resources and also lots of legal, they own a lot of copyright. Yeah, and there's been a problem for Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans being blocked by both, Star Trek and Star Wars companies, Disney, etc., when they've tried to do their stuff, which is a shame. They should be actually supporting these people because it's goodwill and it helps the product from a purely financial point of view overall.
There's a series on YouTube, Star Trek Continues, which had James Doohan's son. James Doohan's son was playing Scotty, and because Paramount said, you can't do that anymore, and they had to stop.
They actually were making virtually every story from what would have been Star Trek 2 in the late 70s before they decided to do Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Right.
And they've done several series of that. They've had several actors playing Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is just, it's not only in the style of the original Star Trek series, but it actually takes the quality on every level, as I said before, every level. Oh, aren't I posh? To heights which I think a lot of TV shows nowadays, I hate the CSI spin-off. I find that so boring. I'd rather watch Columbo, You see my point, quality. I mean, fans sometimes have been guilty of having a wish list, shoving everything except the kitchen sink into it, But like Jimmy says, a lot of these Star Trek fan series, they have busted their balls on every level. I mean, seriously, if you sold these things, well, you wouldn't be allowed to legally, but if they sold them, they'd be worth every penny, every dime.
Yeah, and then you get something like Star Trek Discover. What the fans are doing better than you guys.
The fans have outdone you, and
Yeah.
it's like these dumb shits haven't bothered to watch any of it, and if they have, they've completely missed the point.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a perfect template for what actually works with both the fans and non-fans, and yet instead they seem to be obsessed with turning Star Trek and Star Wars into some, let's cut the crap, some backdoor propaganda bullshit for a social justice warrior, liberal left crap. When I watch Doctor Who, when a Trekkie watches Star Trek, while they may be a supporter of LGBT and trans rights and all that, at the end of the day, they want something that entertains them. They don't want to be lectured as though they're going to some political rights seminar.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving from the universe of Star Trek and the Delta Gamma Quadrant all the way to a totally different realm that's been around for over 50 years. And no, it's not Doctor Who. It's actually the bloke who likes his drinks shaken but not stirred, and has a Walter K, and drives Aston Martin for a living. It's James Bond, or rather, is it Superman? Henry Cavill has recently been interviewed on the red carpet about rumours that he is going to take over from Daniel Craig, or whatever way you pronounce it, as James Bond. So what's your opinion? Because I'm half and half. Do you think this would be a good move, or would it be better going with a less known actor?
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, if you can act, do it. If they can get an actor, no matter whether it's lesser known or well known, who can actually bring justice to the role, then give them the role.
He seems to have not had his career harmed by his comments about Me Too, which, let's be honest, if you say anything bad about them, they come out with pitchforks and flaming torches, electronically wise. But he's too well known as Superman. And also, he seems, he's already done The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I'm presuming you would have watched when you were younger. Because
yeah, I watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. when I was a kid. I loved that movie. I loved the show, but never watched the movie.
David Callum, Robert Vaughn,
yep.
who is actually Albert Stroll in one of my favourite shows, Hustle, which I thought was absolutely fucking brilliant. And, basically, for people who don't know, Guy Ritchie directed the first Man from U.N.C.L.E. film. They've done a sequel to it. He's also, Henry Cavill he's appearing in Mission Impossible, another 60s TV show, very similar to Man from
U.N.C.L.E. I used to watch that as a kid, too.
Man from U.N.C.L.E., Mission Impossible Fallout. Is it Fallout? Yeah, Fallout. And that is superb. Tom Cruise doing all the, just like Buster Keaton, he does all the stunts. And in that, he's playing a villain. I haven't actually seen that, but I intend to. And he seems to be cornering the market in 60s spy TVs, now movies, or, comic characters. So, oddly enough, I suppose he'd be perfect for the role of James Bond, which is another legend that originated from the 60s. It actually inspired both the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible, of course.
Yep, instead of coming up with new material, new characters, they're just mining stuff from the past. Guess they want a guaranteed audience.
But as far as Henry Cavill goes, would him being Superman be detrimental for him actually winning over the audience as James Bond? Would he be too familiar? Would he have Superman's his time as Superman and the DC stuff? Would he actually have to quit Superman if he has to dedicate all his time to, just like Doctor Who, playing a character that you're essentially playing 24/7?
Would he would he want to quit Superman? Maybe he's only going to do the James Bond at one time.
Good point. Good point. Because before, he was actually in the Tudors as one of King Henry VIII's friends. I've never hardly watched that, but my friend Benny did. He loved that. Anyway, from Henry Cavill to our final and exciting subject, which is something I'm really passionate about, which is, oddly enough, about Superman, bizarrely enough, or rather an animated version of Superman. Reign of the Supermen, the animated sequel to Doomsday. As comic book fans will know, Superman was actually killed off when he went up against Doomsday, who actually has been depicted in Batman versus Superman. Basically, a super-powered monstrosity that is even too much for the Man of Steel to deal with. So the Man of Steel dies, and then in Reign of Superman, you have 5 people claiming to be the Man of Steel. And like all these animated films, they're way, way better than any of the live-action movies. The quality is so good in these films. So, have you read any of those comics, Jimmy?
Yeah, I read the Death of Superman, and then I read the follow-ups about all these different beings. Is he Superman? Is he not Superman? Yeah, I read those, and I'm looking forward to this animated film. It's interesting. Back when Death of Superman came out, of course, it was the #1 selling book. Everyone was talking about it, speculating theories about, is he really dead, never coming back? Is he coming? Then they had the follow-ups, and this is basically resurrecting all that.
That's the big problem with Batman versus Superman. It would have made more sense to have Death of Superman later on. They just rushed it. I mean, that's the logical thing. And with the Reign of Superman, you're essentially seeing an exploration of the different facets of how society as a whole builds up a hero and destroys them, and also the different potential of the hero. One is Superboy, another is this vicious sort of modern character, more akin to sort of the one who's got all the cybernetics. He's more like Judge Dredd. And then you've got the more noble version who's got the shades.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a comment on both how society treats hero. The whole difference between old-fashioned superheroes that were going out of fashion and not selling anymore, and the modern sort of bam, 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 type of hero who solves problems not with brains or morality, but as Batman was becoming more and more using violence and his fists. Because what people tend to forget, Batman, when he started, he was using his intelligence and his detective skills. He wasn't going around breaking necks and snapping legs, Which
it was more like a Sherlock Holmes.
Detective comics, The Dark Knight, And around this point in history was when comics were going through a major growing pains as far as how they were having to sell themselves to the comic buying public. The days of comic fans being kids who bought every single issue without fail were long gone by that point.
Yeah. And that's why I like Batman. He has no superpowers. Everything is self-taught, self-trained. He has no superpowers.
The same way that Iron Man, if you take away his gadgets and technology and money,
Yeah.
he's literally just a mortal who could be killed within minutes.
Yep. Yep. Iron Man is just gadgets, nothing else.
The only thing that really makes him Iron is his willpower to succeed. Hence why he had the money in the first place.
Yeah.
But even that is owed to the fact that his father was already a millionaire. What Superman is essentially someone who came down to Earth and was taught his morality by honest farm-dwelling Americans. Simple, everyday folk with no particular powers apart from being decent people who, were hard-working, and their powers were instilled in a young Clark with morality, mercy, and knowing the difference between, right and wrong.
Taught him truth, justice, and the American way.
So his alter ego, oddly enough, is someone who is a reporter in an industry that used to be exactly that, which is now become a corrupt, just like the very business people it used to expose, i.e. Watergate. Watergate, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Now, you can't really tell the difference between reporters and the villains they expose.
That's true.
But the whole point of Clark Kent is that he reports things and has the same morality as Superman himself. But really, by the time Judge Dredd came along, you had heroes who really were dishing out an antidote and the way they dealt with villains and criminals according to the society that they were born into, and of course the creators were born into themselves. Wow, aren't we intelligent? Anyway, that is all we have time for in Out of the Habit. I have been David Aston, better known as That's the Way It Goes, better known as Dave. And this has been my good friend from Seneca Falls, New York.
Monk of Magnesia, otherwise known as Jimmy.
Or Kinky.
Or King.
See, we have our own alter egos, and I think everybody does. We all have this alter ego that we both are to the outside world and the one that we wish we were.
That's true.
Until next time, see you later, alligator.